Hello, this is Megan,
And this is Steven.
and this is the Synchrony podcast where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church.
While drinking coffee.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I've missed you today. It's nice to hang out with you.
I am happy to be back.
Yeah.
I don't like doing long drives.
No, Stephen was visiting some friends for a good friend of ours, his bachelor party.
Yep.
Because he's fixing to get married. This is not a Synchrony marriage.
Not a synchrony marriage.
Just one that we're very happy about for him.
Yep. And I had to drive to West Palm and back in less than 24 hours, which is like a 4-hour one-way trip, but the first day took me 6.
Yeah.
So
It's always funny when you talk to people who live outside of Florida, because usually if you live in any of the other states, like sort of on the East Coast,
yeah.
you drive that far, you've gone through 3 states. Like,
yeah, it's like Europe.
Yeah. And in Florida, you can drive for 9 hours and still be in the state if
Yeah.
you start at the bottom and work your way toward the top. You know?
Yeah. It was fun. Sore though. I cannot believe I am so sore from playing ping pong. That's pretty bad.
Stephen, so this,
I'm very competitive though.
for those of you that are, I don't know, listening very closely to these episodes, Stephen is a collector of skills and hobbies. This is one of his, like, one of my favorite things about you is that you can go really hard into some like niche interest, but actually become really good at it in like a ridiculously short amount of time.
It drives many of my friends nuts.
It's obnoxious in some ways, but it's also an incredible skill. Like like sound engineering, for example.
The power of ADHD.
Yeah, it is. It's magical. This is where it becomes a superpower.
Yeah.
But so one of the things that Steven is just like secretly incredibly good at is ping pong. And you haven't played ping pong in
probably 2.5 years.
Yeah, like it's not like something
Yeah.
that you practice all the time.
But when I did practice, I used to play a lot. So it's the muscle memory comes back quick.
Yeah. So anyway, Stephen is randomly very good at ping pong and random other things that, you might come across at some point. We'll just keep somebody make a list. We'll just keep dropping random Stephen talents
Oh boy.
as we do this. It's good times.
Yeah. I'm happy to be back. I miss the kiddos.
Yeah, they missed you. I missed you.
They missed me for like a whopping like 2.5 seconds and then went back to their things.
Yeah, they were like, "Hi, Dad," and blocks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah.
Or tonight. We're talking about situationships.
Yes, I have been mulling,
Yeah.
as I am wont to do.
Well, can you tell the listeners what you define as a situationship?
Sure. So this is this is kind of like the running term right now for relationships that have the potential to become official romantic relationships or dating relationships and which do not. So typically these are relationships that start as you might hear it referred to as talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the idea that you're casually seeing someone, you're spending a lot of time communicating with them, you've gotten to know them pretty well, and there's a point at which the natural progression of that should be to make that relationship official.
Yeah.
Not in any kind of weird like ownership way, but in the
No.
sense of like we're now committing to each other in such a way that indicates that we want to get more serious with this, that we're interested in cultivating a more of a serious relationship.
You're becoming exclusive. Like it's the idea of committing to getting to know that person emotionally, intimately.
Right.
And not, talking to other people in the process.
Right. So this idea that there's a point at which you should have talked to someone enough to know.
Yeah.
That either they are someone that you want to date exclusively or not.
Yeah.
Right. And so a situationship develops when this pair of people has reached that point, and for whatever reason, it never progresses into a serious committed relationship.
Yeah.
So the result is you have these extended talking, I'm using air quotes when I say talking phases, And from our community, we've heard of people that have been in these for months, that have been in these for literal years,
Yeah.
where they have an interest in this person. They want it to move forward into something more serious, but it's not.
Yeah, and emotionally they're exclusive, but they're not actually committing to moving forward, which kind of halts the relationship.
Right. So here's the thing. Hot take. Situationships are poisoning the church.
Yeah.
And
Why is that?
yeah, so based on the people that we've spoken to, right? And for what it's worth, this is not a teenage phenomenon.
No.
I sat with one of our clients for almost an hour. She was in her 50s and talked about a situationship that she was in that had been going on for over a year.
Yeah.
And was just draining her emotionally, draining her financially, like really, really damaging her.
Yeah, and not to add urgency to something that might not need to be urgent necessarily, but when you're dating later in life,
Mm-hmm.
time is not on your side. And I'm not saying time is not on your side in the sense of like you're gonna die tomorrow. I'm just saying like time is too precious to waste time, a year of your life on someone who is not willing to commit to you.
Well, for anyone though, I mean, like, yes, it definitely applies to folks that are sort of looking at that later chapter, and wanting to make the most of it. But it's also an issue for people that are like in their 30s and they're
Yeah.
trying to decide, am I going to be with this person and have a family with him or not?
Yeah.
And what usually happens is there's this imbalance between the emotional intimacy present in this connection, in this interaction,
Yeah.
and the level of commitment that would make both parties feel safe
Mm-hmm.
and give them a runway to progress that relationship towards something more serious like marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And so what this does is it emotionally drains single people, sometimes for years at a time, right?
Yeah.
It puts them through this cycle of hope and disappointment over and over again.
Yeah.
And it leads to a lot of, I'm going to use the term bitterness. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but this feeling of like
Resentment.
Or like, this is the best that I can do. I'm not able to find anything else. I'm settling for this half-baked relationship because there's no guarantee of something better coming along, and I know that I have this, right?
Yeah.
And at least a couple times a day I get a text from someone, and I can call someone if I get lonely, and every once in a while the other person will drop me this nugget of something that makes me think that maybe they want something more. Right?
Yeah.
But it is a miserable place to be in because it offers you no emotional security.
Yeah.
And it gives people this sense of, excitement and anticipation. It sets off all of those sort of like big, loud neurotransmitters in your brain.
Yeah, your dopamine.
Right. But it's not providing any of that oxytocin, that slow bonding hormone that would actually allow you to cultivate a deep relationship with someone and form a bond that's lasting.
Yeah.
So it's a pointless relationship ultimately, right? Even these that the occasional ones that do progress towards something more serious, you spend a lot of time and investment that could have been spent furthering a more solidly founded relationship, right? And I think that the fact that these exist, and that we're not talking about them as a problem overall. I mean, when I say we, I think like in our dating culture, we've kind of just, we don't really bring these up as like a big issue in dating, right? Like,
Well, yeah, because the talking, air quote talking phase is socially like kind of encouraged, right?
yeah, and
You get to know someone, but there's no guidelines on when that talking phase should end.
yeah, and from a church perspective, this isn't, akin to what the world would call a friends with benefits relationship, right? Because
No.
there's not a sexual component to it.
Yeah.
Ideally. But it's, I'm, I, this is bold, but I think it can be nearly as damaging to people.
Yeah.
Because of the time and energy that it sucks out of their relationship bandwidth, and because it teaches them to not trust their instincts and to not ask for what they need. So it trains you to seek out satisfaction in a non-optimal way relationally.
Yeah.
And you carry that with you into your future relationships and into your future marriages. The number of people that I've talked to who have been in extended situationships and as a result have very heavily limited their dating interactions because of the amount of emotional pain that they sustain during that is remarkable.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of people.
Why or what do you think causes people to stay in these extended seasons of talking?
I mean, I think the basic premise is that it's addictive.
Yeah.
Like you talked about dopamine, and I do think that I think that there's a biological component to this, and I don't have a study or data to point to here. So,
Oh, sure.
Take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a neuroscientist, right? But if you're getting constant small hits of excitement and satisfaction from your interactions with this person,
Yeah, being seen.
right, you're going to seek out more of those. And if they happen consistently enough to make you feel like that's a reliable source of that satisfaction,
Yeah.
it's very hard to rewire the brain to just cut that off cold turkey, right?
Yeah.
So I think part of it's that.
I also think there's a bit of it, and I've been in a couple situationships in my dating life as well. It goes back to not wanting to give up on your time investment,
Mm.
right? Like, so you've held out hope for this person
Yeah.
for a long time while you're also looking for you're trying to find the green flags, right? And so you're like on this the wild goose chase trying to see if this person fits your values, or if they are the person that you want to be with. And they're not quite hitting that mark, but you still really like them as a person. And so now you're 6 months, a year into it, and you look back and go, I've invested a year into this person.
Right.
Now do I choose to break it off and finally put this relationship to rest? Or do I just compromise my values and just fully commit to this person?
Right.
And so it's I think it comes down to like not wanting to lose your investment of time into this person.
Yeah. And I think there is that sense of like fear and shame that could come,
Yeah.
From having made, commitments or overtures to this person and then lose that, right? Sometimes these are happening sort of visibly and
Sure.
there's an expectation that it will eventually become more of a relationship. And so there can be some shame or embarrassment when it doesn't manifest in something more long term. I think another reason is a scarcity mindset.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that whole idea of like all the good men are taken, right? All the good women are taken.
If I lose this one, will I find another one?
Right. And I mean, again, like we're going back to the whole lack of space and opportunity in apostolic dating culture. Like if this is the one person in your district that seems like a viable option for you, even if, like you said, being with them would compromise on some of your values, you might feel that there just isn't somebody else out there for you who'd be better.
They might be close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those things just make for a toxic kind of cocktail of reasons why someone could get stuck in one of these. And I want to be really clear too that I don't necessarily think that all of these situations happen because there's a good guy and a bad guy or
no.
like a predator and a victim, right? I think that can certainly happen. You can probably think of someone who has been in a situation where they were clearly being taken advantage of by someone who wanted to sort of play with their emotions or play the field.
Yeah,
right?
and those are not the people we're talking about.
No. And we know that that does happen, so we want to acknowledge that as a reality for some people. But I think it's just as common, if not more common, for both people to be interested in some kind of a long-term commitment or relationship, and in their dating efforts end up in one of these situationships because they don't have the right communication tools to move it forward effectively.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It could also be too, and I mean, yes, communication tools, but also not having a true understanding of what you want.
Yeah.
You haven't identified what your values are or what you want in life. And
Right.
so this person is someone you like being around and they could fit, but you also don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you don't want to commit to this person necessarily because you haven't figured out what you're doing in life and what your trajectory is. And so you're kind of keeping them around.
Right. And it's the
And
whole...
again, I think this is subconscious. I don't think this is intentional.
Yes.
This is not like a bad guy versus good guy thing. I think this is unintentional, like postponement of progressing a relationship.
Or like a paralysis because, again, we sort of have put such a pressure on people in the early dating phases to
Yeah.
do it right and pick the right one and
Yeah, the one concept.
like find their soulmate, right? And there's this whole idea of I guess it comes down to like FOMO, which is fear of missing out, right?
Yeah.
This idea that like, well, I like this person's interesting, but what if there's someone better who's closer to what I really want, right? Or who makes me feel this much more excited about it, or who's this much more attractive, right?
Yeah.
And this ghostly, non-existent potential person can sometimes be enough of a distraction from the person who's right in front of you that you're not able to fully dedicate yourself to understanding them and furthering a relationship with them because you're holding out for someone who doesn't exist yet in your life. And I think that's influenced by all kind of media and everything else, that we struggle with in dating culture. So this is just like this toxic situation where two people who both want to create God-honoring marriage relationships can get stuck in this cycle of relatively meaningless relationships and devote most of their time and energy to those things.
Yeah.
Effectively cutting off their search for somebody who does align with their values.
That's the thing is this is taking them emotionally and mentally off the market enough to where it could make it difficult for them if someone does show up and they might not be emotionally available for them.
Right. And let me just pause here and say, if you are a person who is in this rare minority of people that are actively like using people in church as a way to validate yourself, and you are knowingly taking advantage of them emotionally and leading them on to try to give yourself, more satisfaction at their expense, shame on you.
Yeah.
Like there's no excuse for that. And I'm not a pastor, but I'll come out and say that like you are damaging the body of the church and you are sowing discord by doing that.
Yeah.
And you need to act in the fear of God and deal with that in yourself. Like, that's not okay to treat your brother or sister in Christ with that kind of disregard. And again, I think this is a very small minority of people.
Yeah, yeah. It's
just in case that reaches the ear of someone who has been like entertaining that demon of like, I really lack in myself and I feel a deep lack in myself so much that I'm going to go use other people to fulfill me.
Yeah.
You got to get that taken care of.
Well, I mean, this could be an opportunity too. Maybe they haven't recognized it, and maybe listening to this will say, "Oh, maybe I do have that pattern."
Yeah.
Maybe I should pray about that.
Yeah, pray about that.
Because it depends on your influences and who you were raised around. That might be normal to them, and so recognizing it's half the battle. And so, if you can see that, and that is a pattern that you're struggling with, then bring it to the Lord or have an accountability partner.
Yeah, and if it's something where
actually not one or the other, you could do both.
Yeah, do both. And if it's something that you have been able to identify as a pattern in your life, seek out a counselor.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes when people are using people to try to fix something in themselves that they can't fix, it goes way deeper than the dating relationship.
Oh, sure.
So get the help you need, but stop doing that.
Yeah.
We love you. That's dumb and hurtful.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk to the other 95% of people that are involved in these, who are just two people that get like stuck in this cycle. We need to talk to them about how they get out of it or how they avoid these.
Yeah. So the first thought that comes to my mind is identify your values.
Yes, please do that work.
How do they do that?
Yeah, so we can actually help with this. And so this is something that we'll sort of do with people as part of the consultation that when we bring in new people. But you might be listening to this and for whatever reason you're not able or ready to go into the whole matchmaking process, or you might be too young, and we want you to have this in hand too. So identifying your values is going to take some time.
And it's not rocket science.
Yeah, and you're going to have to do some reflection. So you need to go spend some time alone with yourself. And my favorite way to get at your values is to ask the question, what do I want to see changed in the world as a result of me being part of it?
Yeah.
What change should my life affect on earth, right? What should the outcomes of my life be? And that's very different than what do I stand for, right? That's a whole different set of things that can have to do with what you see as morally right or true, right?
Yeah. Your calling is different than your values.
Yeah, or
I mean, not that they can't align with each other.
I think your calling is a manifestation of your values, right? Because the values are here's what I want my life to contribute to. Here's what should be different or better about the world as a result of me being part of it.
Yeah.
And I believe that God puts those desires in our heart and leads us to callings that further those aims, right?
Yeah.
One person's values are not morally superior to another person's values, even if they are completely opposite, right?
Yeah.
One person could feel strongly that they want their life to contribute to furthering Christian education for young children, right? They feel passionately that as a result of them being on earth, more children are going to understand the gospel and have early experiences with the Lord and with the Holy Ghost as a result of their direct work. And somebody else on the exact opposite end could say, as a result of me being here, people who are on their deathbed will have an opportunity to encounter God at the end of their life.
Yeah.
Because of the work I'm going to do, working in hospice or working in whatever, right?
Yeah.
Both of those are morally equal.
Sure.
Very important, aligned with scripture, but complete opposites in terms of what the value itself is, right? So this is different than you just figuring out what you think is right or wrong. It's about understanding what you want your life to contribute toward.
Yeah.
And there's probably a variety of things, right? It's probably not like 2 things. It's probably like 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
Maybe less than a dozen, more than a few.
Yeah, and not to add confusion to this, but over time, those values are going to slowly change.
Yeah.
Probably not flip-flop, but they're going to be molded a little bit and be more defined.
They're going to kind of crystallize.
As you get more thoughtful into it.
Right. And as you understand the passions that God's given you and the doors that he's opening, I think that our value for, this is very meta, for like a values-driven marriage. When we first got married, we would have summarized that value as more of like cultivating healthy relationships with ourselves and others. But that's crystallized into something a little bit deeper, which is that we want to, as a result of us being on earth, see more values-driven partnerships established for the kingdom.
Yeah.
And those couples working together to serve each other and serve the church and change the world.
Yeah.
So your values will crystallize over time. But even if you're a teenager, right, you should start to have a sense of purpose. What are the things that I personally want to see changed about the world because I was on it?
Yeah.
So start with that work. Sit down and do some reflection on that. If you need help doing that, We have a very lightweight values identification quiz on our website that can just be kind of a starter to get you thinking in the right directions, right?
Yeah, and we plan on coming out with more courses for people to be able to hopefully dive deeper into these topics.
Yeah. So that's kind of the first step.
Mm-hmm. Then what?
So I think this is advice for avoiding getting into situationships in the first place. So
Okay.
we'll direct this step at people who are not currently in one of these problematic cycles, right? I think the way that you avoid getting into a situationship is you set clear expectations from the get-go with your dating prospects. And that's awkward, and that's hard, and it's countercultural. It's not the norm.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is you meet someone and you start communicating with them. At some point early on in the first couple of weeks of your communication, you say to them, listen, I'm not interested in just a friendship relationship with you.
Yeah.
I'm having these conversations because I want to understand if you and I are a good fit for each other romantically and in terms of our values.
Yeah.
And my questions and my interactions with you are aiming for that. And if that's not what you want, that's okay, but you need to tell me that now. And you should be able to do that within a couple of weeks of talking to this person.
Yeah. What's funny is I know that sounds, when you just said that, like half of our audience's palms just started sweating.
Yeah.
Like, and
Pupils
I'm not
dilating.
Yeah, it's not easy naturally, for a lot of people. But that being said, for those that your palms just got sweaty, think about that level of communication and setting that expectation. You're looking for a spouse that is willing to work and communicate in life with you.
Yes.
Right? You want them to be able to talk about themselves and about their emotions.
Yeah.
So if they cannot have this kind of conversation at the very beginning of your relationship,
yeah, they're not ready.
They're probably not ready. And so that being said, if they don't have the tools to be able to communicate with you about it, but they also show drive to want to learn how to, that's another situation. Not everyone is born with these levels of communication.
Sure.
Or are taught how to do so. So if they show the drive to want to try to get better at it, that's something you can work with. But I hate using this over and over and over again, but going back to the time-saving efficiency thing, not choosing to not go into that situation of perpetual talking.
Yeah.
You are now setting the expectation from the very beginning. Hey, these are my intentions. I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
And if it works out, that time can be fully dedicated to investing into your relationship and have a clear direction. Now, that being said, let's go on the flip side. Say it freaks them out because they've never had someone communicate with them before and they decide not to anymore and they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or something happens and they just choose not to go forward in that relationship. You've now saved yourself 6 months to a year of time.
Right. That's literally the worst case scenario is that.
Yeah, absolute worst case scenario.
The absolute worst case scenario is that they save you a bunch of time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the rejection won't sting in that moment. But you've cultivated, hopefully through this process of identifying your values, a sense of yourself and your worth and the purpose that God's placed on your life.
Yeah.
You can tolerate that rejection if it comes.
Sure.
And it's going to be okay. You listener who are listening to this that are thinking about the situation and your palms are just like, pouring sweat. You could receive that rejection and you would be okay because your worth is not determined by that person's opinion of you or by their individual readiness to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
So saying what you intend to do and giving them the opportunity to tell you back yes or no is a gift to you and to them. It's an act of care.
Yeah.
Because neither of you can afford to waste years of your life investing into something that's going nowhere.
No. And that's the thing is like, I have friends in the past that have gotten into these perpetual cycles of talking and they've wasted years of their life being hung up on someone who is not going to ultimately be with them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And they know it from the beginning too, which is what would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
But they still hung on because they liked them a lot. And
Right.
like, that's cool. I'm happy you like them a lot. But if you're not planning on moving forward with it, you're wasting your time. Like,
And often, I mean, I'm gonna challenge that a little bit. Sometimes I don't think it's that they like them a lot. It's that they like how they make them feel.
nah, that's fair.
And I mean, and maybe they're a great person too,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But oftentimes, if they can recognize from the beginning that that's not the right person for them,
Yeah.
then it's not because they like them as a person necessarily. It's because that person provides them with a sense of enjoyment and fun and excitement and all the things that you want from an early budding relationship. And the temptation to stay with that is so strong for people. But here, really quick. So, going back to the idea of like just in the first couple of weeks of talking to someone, laying out your intentions, I want to just caution people to not to like hold someone's feet over the fire. And
Yeah.
it
I was
can't be
supposed
it can't be a situation where you're like, tell me that you like me or else I'll never talk to you again.
Absolutely. And that's what I wanted to get to as well, is that there's a way to say it and have this conversation and it be approachable.
Right. So I think, one way you could frame this is like, let's say that we're having this conversation and I'm the one expressing to you that I'm planning for this to be a serious interaction with the goal of dating you, right?
Yeah. Do you want to improv this? Do you want to do it?
No, because I mean,
Did your palms just get clammy?
no, I just feel like we know each other too well for it to come across as
I know.
natural.
Okay. Well, it'd be kind of funny, and if it can provide an example for people,
Okay, well,
we could try it, and if we don't like it, we can cut it.
Okay, so we're gonna pretend to do this as if we were we had just begun a talking relationship, right? We've been talking.
Say we've been talking for a month and a half, a month, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be the one that's expressing to you what I want,
because that's atypical.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm going to be the woman moving this forward and asking for what I need.
Yep.
Hey, Steven.
Hey, Megan.
Hey. So, we've been talking for like a couple weeks now, right?
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. And I'm having a lot of fun. And you're really cool to hang out with. And I feel like we have a lot in common.
I do too.
Good. Are you enjoying this too? Like, I'm enjoying this. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm enjoying getting to know you.
Good. So I want to be really upfront with you about something because this is important to me and because I really respect you.
Okay.
And I don't want to waste your time.
Shoot. Let's hear it.
Okay. I want this to be a period of time where we're learning about each other to make a decision about whether or not we want to date each other.
Okay.
I'm not interested in you just as a male friend. I think you're fantastic and I value the friendship that we're cultivating, but I'm looking for a serious relationship and that's a high priority for me. I want to have a family and I want to be moving toward that kind of commitment with someone. So I'm interested in seeing if there's potential for us to date here. And I'm not trying to put pressure on you to make that decision right now. But I want to ask you to be thinking about that as well. I want to understand if that's where your head is about this. Like, do you see us moving toward a dating relationship or do you feel like we're just friends?
No, I mean, I would like to move forward, but that being said, I want to get to know you better first, before we make any hard commitments. But yeah, no, I appreciate this information.
Yeah, so let me just put a little bit of a framework around that because I want to get to know you better too. And I don't want you to feel a lot of pressure to suddenly be like really romantic or to feel like you have to suddenly ask me out officially. Like that's not what I'm asking for. But I want to ask like, what information do you still need from me? Like, what do you still need to know about me in order to know whether or not I'm someone that you would date?
Okay. What's funny is I've had some questions I've been wanting to ask you, but I wasn't sure if you'd be comfortable or they'd be kind of forward.
Yeah.
And it has to do with things that are not very normal to casual conversation.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I have some of those questions for you too, honestly. How about this? Why don't we set up a phone date? Because I know we like both of us have places to be soon. Why don't we talk like Friday night? Like we'll
How
either
about we do it in person?
yeah, if in this hypothetical universe we are in a place where we can meet in person, that
Oh,
would be
now we're
great.
breaking fourth walls?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have to it's not everyone is going to be in a situation where they can meet with each other, but
Sure.
yes, let's pretend that we can meet up in person and we will do that. So, let's go out on Friday night and you bring your list of hard questions and I'll bring my list of hard questions.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, let's just have that conversation so that we can make a decision in the near future about whether or not there's potential here. Like I don't want to rush you, but I really respect you and like you and I don't want to waste your time.
Cool. How do you feel about Froyo?
I love Froyo.
All right, cool. So
End scene.
How
I
want to talk through this because what's funny in this hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
Even though we are married with 2 kids, I felt released to ask you certain questions. And I was putting myself in the shoes of someone who was unsure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I highly value communication personally. So like me, naturally, because you're my wife and I married you because of the same reasons, but all those high tones of someone being direct and clear with me was attractive. And also it's freeing as the guy in the relationship to be able to hear that.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of a social expectation for guys to be mind readers.
Yes.
And so when person on the other side of me is not expecting me to read their mind and they're telling me, hey, there's some things I really want to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about them. And I don't have to like pull teeth to get you to talk about it.
Yeah.
That is a sign to me that you are spouse potential.
Yeah. So
like, and what's funny, looking back, these are all the same reasons why I was attracted to you to begin with.
Hey.
But it makes the communication being there opens up avenues for me to express concerns and be direct about things that I may not have been comfortable asking you because maybe I didn't know you enough.
Right. Yeah, and let's do like a kind of an instant replay for a second
Mm-hmm.
and break this down a little bit. So, for those of you who were listening to that, there were a couple of things that I did in that setup that are useful strategies. So, number 1, I said, "Hey, I have something serious that I want to talk to you about, right? Or I need to say something really directly to you." Saying something like that lets the other person know, like, "Oh, I got to pay attention to this."
Yeah.
So
that's where they put their phone down and they look at you, make eye contact if you're in person.
This is not a moment to be passive aggressive and to be like, so hypothetically, like if you were a guy who liked people who kind of looked like me, who were kind of did the things that I did, would you like sort of want to date someone kind of like that? Maybe like this is not the moment for that.
This is also for those people who are sarcastic.
Yeah.
A time to get rid of the sarcasm.
Yeah.
Like this is where you be direct with a person.
And you can say like, hey, I know that I'm usually the funny person here and I'm always cracking jokes. I want you to know that I'm about to ask you something very serious.
Yeah.
Like express your intent and then give your reasoning. I'm going to ask you this because I really enjoy being around you. I like you and I respect you and I don't want to waste your time. And I also have motivations for myself.
Yeah.
Where I don't want to waste my time because I want to cultivate a marriage and a family. Like say those things out loud. Here's my why about why I'm about to bring up this serious topic with you.
Yeah.
And notice it's not, it's not because I've been waiting and you haven't been giving me what I want, right? Or, oh, this has been taking too long and I'm tired of it. It's, hey, I want to make sure that both of us are being respected in this relationship, right?
Yep.
And then you give them an invitation to help you move it forward by saying, what else do you need to know about me to be sure?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And if you had in this situation been like, oh, wow, I haven't really thought about it, I don't know, right? Then the answer is, great. Let's take the rest of the week and you think about it
Yeah.
And let's go out on Friday. And I want you to have thought about it enough by Friday to be able to tell me an answer to that.
Yeah.
And set that expectation, right? That's not like a scary ultimatum. You're being respectful about it, but I need to move this forward. I need to know what you want. And if you're not sure, that's okay. But here's a deadline by which I'd be comfortable with you giving me an answer.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was kind of thinking about it. The unsure, like, I haven't thought about it answer
Mm-hmm.
in a long-term talking situation should be a red flag.
Yes.
I say that because you're talking about relationships
Yeah.
that are especially in the apostolic faith, have intentions for marriage.
Right.
This is similar but different to signing a mortgage, like doing a lease.
Mm-hmm.
For those who use credit cards, signing up for a credit card there should be a lot of thought that goes into it before you do such a thing,
Right.
even though most of the time it's not. And
different soapbox for a different story.
yeah. But that being said, you're going into a long-term relationship with said thing you're signing up for. And you're literally putting your livelihood on the line for those things. You should be with someone who is willing to be able to and willing to critically think about the relationship.
Yeah, who's approaching it with some intentionality.
Yes, intentionality is a good word for it. And
Yeah.
so that being said, it's just the absent-minded, just wandering through life.
Oh, I thought we were just hanging out and having
Yeah,
a good
like
time.
that doesn't cut it for me. Let's I really appreciate our friendship, and I would love to keep it that way. Let's keep on going.
Right.
Let's go our separate ways, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that that's really valuable. So that's the advice to people who are not in situationships and are maybe talking to someone and want to avoid getting into that cycle.
Or are on the edge of a situationship.
Right. Let's talk to the people briefly who are already involved in one.
Sure.
Okay. So this is a different scenario where you've been talking to this person for an extended period of time, right? And for different people, that's a different length of time. It might be a matter of months for some person,
Yeah.
or even a matter of weeks if they're a person who, if there was a heavy demonstration of interest at the beginning,
Yeah.
right? So this time frame is variable, right? But I think in any of these situations, this is usually a scenario where there has been enough indicators of interest that the other person would be within their rights to have expected a form of commitment.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to just do another little scene really quick? We'll play this out.
Sure. What do you want me to?
Okay, so again, I'm going to be the person who wants to kind of move this forward, and you're
Yeah.
going to be the guy who has been like texting me a lot and off and on, kind of flirting, but not taking it any further.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You just got done playing basketball.
Cool. Hey, I need to talk to you about something kind of serious. Do you have time for that?
Sure.
Okay. We've been talking for a little while now, and it's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
It has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. But I have some expectations about this that I want to make sure that you're aware of, because I recognize that our expectations might be different, and I want to get clarity about it.
Oh, okay. What's going on?
So I am interested in dating you, and I have been interested in that for a while. And I've been seeing signs from you that make me think that you're interested in dating as well. But for whatever reason, even though we've been talking a lot and we've been showing each other a lot of interest, we haven't moved that forward. And I just want you to understand what my intentions are. I'm not interested in us just being friends or in this kind of extended period of flirting going forward anymore. And so if you don't have the right information at this point about whether or not I'm a good dating prospect for you. I want to understand how I can help you get that information so we can make a decision about whether to move into a more serious relationship or move on with our lives. And I really value what we've had, but both of us need to be, I know you want to get married someday and so do I. And we need to be communicating as though we're moving toward that aim. And I don't want to waste your time anymore if I'm not someone that you could see yourself with.
Okay. I mean, I would love to have this conversation. Um, and honestly, I would love to move a relationship forward. I just really haven't known how to progress it, honestly.
I get that, and I know it's a lot of pressure. Um, I'm interested in us officially becoming a couple.
Okay.
So what that means for me, just so you understand, is that I would like us to be exclusively dating each other, and I want to be able to refer to you as my boyfriend and you to refer to me as your girlfriend, and us to be communicating and going out with the goal of seeing if we'd like to eventually move this toward marriage.
Okay. Well, let me get some questions prepared for that conversation. I might have a couple things I'd like to get some clarity on, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Um, and I just want to, put one more thing on your radar, that as part of that decision about, if we were to choose to move this into a serious dating relationship, I'd want to talk to you about other people that need to be involved in that communication, like my family and our pastors. So be thinking about that as well, because that's part of this.
Okay. I will.
Okay. When can we have this conversation?
This Friday.
Okay, cool. Are we going to go out and do this in person?
Yeah. How do you feel about Froyo?
I love Froyo. I'll bring some questions to ask you too.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. End scene. Okay. What was different about that scenario versus the first one?
What's so funny? I'm trying to immerse myself in this. I actually felt a little bit of shame. Like in this imaginary scenario, I felt like as the person who, again, the social responsibility for progressing a relationship is usually the guy.
Yeah.
I did feel a bit of like, embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't moving the relationship fast enough. And maybe not fast enough, but like I just didn't have the tools, or I just didn't feel like I didn't understand the cues that I needed to move it forward.
I think so many guys are in that position.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I'm literally married with 2 kids, and
I'm sorry. Did you have to think about the number of kids we had for a second there?
Yeah, I'm functioning off like 4.5 hours of sleep right now, so I'm like
you're doing great.
Way too much caffeine today too.
Yeah.
As a response. But yeah, so I did feel that initially, but at the end of the day, I felt a little bit of relief that there was going to be progression and that there was a clear path forward. And I think a big part of the situationships that we're calling them that is a little bit of an issue is that it's like kind of like there's like a cloud of indecision, right? Between both of us. Like we're both kind of in this stagnant, like we're just wading in the water, and just trying to, not really sure where to go from there. But I do want to address, sorry, actually, before we go forward, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I think it's very true that there are plenty of people who are in these situations who do not know how to make it go forward, right?
Yeah.
Or they have experienced rejection in the past maybe, and they're just feeling so much paralysis around like, I don't know how to get this to move ahead. So again, nobody in the scenario has to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Both people can be an equal sort of party in this compromising situation. But you who are listening to this, we are emboldening you with the responsibility to go make that change.
Yeah. I do want to caveat that there's probably also a scenario where a relationship is not moving forward due to life circumstances.
Sure.
So what I mean by that is you're in the middle of school and your time is very limited, and you're not sure if you want to commit to that relationship. Or maybe you're working a ton of hours and you have, so I'm saying there might be, it's not just a lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
There could be also situations in which someone's not sure if they can commit the time to the relationship.
Which I totally agree with.
I'm not saying that they should change the course of action.
Right.
I'm just saying I wanted to be sensitive to more than just a lack of communication or ability to move forward.
Yeah. And just because someone is in a challenging period of life does not mean that you shouldn't ask for what you need.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So in those scenarios, it's totally within your rights to say, hey, I understand that you're in the middle of school or you're in this big transition. I'm interested in dating you. What can I expect from you during this stage?
Yeah.
Right. And if they come back with like, look, I really can't commit to a relationship right now, you're within your rights to either say, cool, I think I could hang out the way we are now for a few more months, but I would want to move this forward by like, November, right?
Yeah.
Or you could say, hey, I totally understand. I'm not willing to stay in this emotional limbo for that long.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. I just need to move on for myself.
Yeah.
And I want to point out too, so in the way we played it out, right? You were someone who was interested in moving things forward.
Yeah. I was trying to keep it on a positive note.
Sure. Someone out there is going to encounter a situation where when they bring up this conversation, the other person is going to say or not say, but not deliver and indicate that they don't actually want a relationship with this person.
Yeah.
Right. And in those scenarios, again, I'm speaking to my single friend who's in a situationship right now. You have to be willing to burn the bridge.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you demonize that person.
No.
It doesn't mean that you badmouth them. It
You do it with respect.
Definitely does not mean that you get on social media and slam them, right?
Yeah.
But you can say to them, hey, this has been fun. I can tell that you're not able to give me what I need, right? The metaphor I used the other day is that, imagine it's like you're shopping at a grocery store and you've spent all your time looking up and down the aisles looking for a particular item, and you go to the store manager and you're like, hey, do you guys stock this? And they say, oh, no, we don't. You don't get mad at the store manager and create a big mess and demand that they start stocking that item right then, right there, right?
Yeah, you go to a different store.
You go to a different store.
Yeah.
And you can do that respectfully and gracefully and say, hey, I admire you and appreciate you and I respect you as a person. I'm not willing to continue this. For my own self, I need something different. And so I'm going to move on. And moving on means that you stop communicating with them, most likely.
Yeah.
I am not of the opinion that two people who have already cultivated a potential dating relationship can just go and just be friends.
Yeah. That's why whenever you broke up with me, when we were dating, I said from the very beginning, I cannot be in communication with you if this is the case.
Yeah. It's when you've already opened up the potential door of interest and that's been overtly there, any kind of like quote unquote friendship is going to result in just a lot of tension.
Yeah. If you're wondering what I'm referring to about her breaking up with me, go listen to the first and second episodes of the podcast.
Babe, are you going to bring up the part about me breaking your heart?
No, it was a valid example. I'm not trying to just like roast you every time, I promise. But it was a perfect example.
I am proud of the fact that I broke up with you and then asked you back out.
That's right. You wrote me a love song.
I did.
We should definitely post that for the people.
No, we should not. Anyway.
If you want to hear it, comment.
Stop. Anyway. Okay, so backing back out because we've been harping on this for forever.
Yeah.
To summarize, situationships are harmful. They're harmful to you and the person that you're in the situationship with, and they're harmful to the church as a whole. Because the longer you waste your time and energy in that situationship, the less time and energy you have for the relationship that you could be building and for the kingdom.
Yeah.
So situationships should not be part of a Christian dating lifestyle. They are not part of a holy dating focus.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mean that as soon as you meet someone, they need to commit to dating you, but it means that you need to be clearly setting your expectations and giving them a time frame by which you need to understand what the situation is of the relationship.
Yeah.
And so if you're not in one of these yet, this means that when you get into those early talking phases with someone, you're expressing your intent to date them.
Yeah.
And you're asking them for their intention back and giving them a clear framework to provide you with those answers, right?
And what's so cool is by you doing that, it helps the person that you're dating have again a clear direction, and you kind of give them permission
Mm-hmm.
to fully appreciate you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's specifically on the guy's end, there's a lot of insecurity of, well, what if I like her more than she likes me?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that the situation always has to be in the girl's hands. Like the
Right.
guy could also be clear with intentions as well.
Please.
But yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying that from the guy's perspective and using our examples today, it helps so much to be able to fully emotionally commit to this person.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to wait 6 months to have that emotion, because usually what takes so long is you guys building the knowledge and the time with each other, understanding that, oh, this person wants to invest into me more. This person wants to invest into me more. This person wants. So if you do that from the earlier stages, you can fully commit to each other emotionally sooner and be on the same page.
Yeah. A lot of times I think people get stuck here because they're not sure yet if they are physically attracted to the person they're talking to the extent that they want to be.
Yeah.
You know what makes someone really attractive? Knowing that they like you and want to emotionally commit to you.
Yeah.
Like someone who is honest with you about their intentions and says like, "Hey, I really like you and I'd be willing to exclusively date you." And in fact, I would be excited by that opportunity. That's pretty attractive.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And again, we don't think physical attractiveness should be at the forefront of what you're looking for anyway. But if you feel like you aren't head over heels as attracted to this person as you would like to be in order to begin dating them, I would encourage you to reconsider the value of that.
Yeah.
And again, like express what you need in the relationship first.
I think a lot of a physical attraction is relative due to connection.
Yeah.
Because physical attraction, yes, the word itself is just about the outward appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think, especially as a guy who is very visually based, like the more you know someone, the more attractive they are.
Yeah. The more intimacy you cultivate emotionally.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Okay. So that's how you prevent yourself from getting into situationships. If you are in one right now, gird up your loins and go have the hard conversation to ask for what you need.
Yep.
And you don't have to be mean about it or vindictive. If you've built up some bitterness or some resentment in this process about this person, pray about it before you go in and try to set that aside. They're another human being navigating this awfully complicated dating world just like you are. And it's messy and they might not have the right tools. And it's not your responsibility to put yourself on hold for them, but you can go gain clarity here.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is that you're going to get a no and it's going to sting for a moment. And then you will have reclaimed potentially years of your life that you can spend in pursuit of someone who will want to build a life with you.
Yep.
And you deserve that.
You do. And if you have questions or need advice on execution of said task, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot these days. The reason why we're talking about this is because there are a large number of people in our community that are struggling with this phenomenon of a situationship. And we've been coaching them off and on individually. And we're just hoping that people hearing this will start to cultivate that mindset of like, this is something we don't want to have as part of Christian dating.
Yeah.
And here's how you can escape it and avoid it.
Yep.
Should we talk about announcements?
Yeah. We have a summer sale going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is $75 off your consultation.
Yep.
If you put in the code
summer_24.
Awesome. I pointed to you because I didn't know what the code was. And also we are in Operation 50/50 right now, and our
Yes.
goal is to try to get our demographics of our synchrony community to 50% men, 50% women.
Right. And in order to do that, we have a bit of a competition going. So for the rest of June and all of July, if you refer a man to the Synchrony Project, meaning that they put you as their referral on their Synchrony survey they take after they sign up with that $75 off discount, for each man you refer, you will be entered into a drawing to win $1,000. We're going to do that drawing in the first week of August. So you still have plenty of time to do this. Go talk to the guys in your life who are single, your relatives. Please consider.
Don't just think of people your age. Think of every person that you can think of in your church.
Yes.
That is of any age and variety above the age of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be a very useful tool for them.
Yep. Father's Day is coming up. Bless your single dads with information about this. You can also buy them a gift card. There's a gift card option if you want to go gift them their consultation. That's available. So think about the single dads in your life and consider that for them. And yeah, help us be able to match as many people as we can over the summer. The more equal we get our gender demographics in our synchrony pipeline, then the faster we can create great matches and see more values-driven couples doing great work in the kingdom. And we're excited about that.
And slowly dwindle away at ending loneliness in the church.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Please leave a comment. We would love to hear from you.
Hey, babe. I love you.
I love you.
I'm glad that we didn't end up in a situationship.
Me too. And I'm also happy that this went relatively okay despite my sleep deprivation.
Yeah, you do pretty well on very little sleep, honestly.
So what caffeine does for you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.